today we are going to discuss about the managing banking features in TallyPrime. So the same session we have conducted during November. So today we are going to discuss some of the important topics related to auto bank reconciliation and check printing. I'm myself Manikandan. I'm the Chief Knowledge Officer of Asset Integrated Info System. This session is organized by Asset Integrated Info System, shortly Asset Tally. So Asset Tally is the #1 master tally partner in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. We are providing tally support, sales, service, TDL and integration services from 1997. If you want to reach us, you can reach us through www.assettally.com. Let us get into the session directly. So today we are going to discuss this four informations, that is 1, check printing and check register. Number 2, deposit slips generation from TallyPrime. Number 3, payment advice generation from TallyPrime. And finally, bank reconciliation. See, business we cannot separate from bank activities. Nowadays, most of our business transactions are routed through banking, either it is a payment or a receipt, right? Because it is safe to handle funds through bank than cash. So even a small business is preferred to use banking transaction instead of cash transactions. Even an individual, even if you are not doing a business, we prefer to handle GPay payments instead of cash payments, right? So similarly, all the businesses, most of the businesses, 90% and above, I can say, started using banking transactions. And in that case, number of transactions have become more. So if the transactions are more, then we have to consciously track the transactions, because it's nothing but a third-party activity. When we make a payment, we have to ensure that the payment reached the respective supplier. Or when we are getting a amount from our customer, we have to ensure that it reached our bank account. Sometimes your customers will say, I have transferred money. They will share some acknowledgement also. So we have to carefully track all those transactions. Earlier, we usually issue checks for the payments and we get the money through the checks from the suppliers. Nowadays, everything is through the banking, net banking transaction like GPay payments or IMPS, NEFT or RTGS, whatever it is. Even though we have to track those transactions consciously. So sometimes the transactions will take an impact, but that will not reflect in the bank statements. So we have to do the reconciliations also properly. So Tally is going to help us to do the auto reconciliation. So auto reconciliation, that is, we can do the reconciliation as soon as we download the bank statements and import it in Tally. Usually we do it manually. In those cases, we open the bank statement and we open Tally and we just check whether the transaction is updated in the bank statement. If it is updated, we put the date of such transaction. That means it is going to be reconciled. But now there is an advancement in Tally. That means you can download the bank statements in Excel or CSV format from your bank, and you can import it in Tally so that Tally will do the auto reconciliation based on the transactions which are reflecting in your bank statement. The auto reconciliation will happen. So I cannot say that all the transactions will be auto reconciled, but depends on the criteria, like the amount should get matched, date should get matched, the payment reference code like a check number or the referral ID should get matched, then the auto reconciliation will happen, right? We'll get into the subject and directly I'll open Tally. I have a sample data for this demonstration purpose. We'll start the session. I've taken this company as an example, that is Anurag Enterprises. So first we will discuss about configuration in the banking feature, right? So first I'm creating a sample ledger for banking, right? I hope you know about creating bank ledgers, but I'm going to recall it. I'm creating a bank ledger, Indian Bank, and it should be grouped under bank account. So there's auto reconciliation and payment slip generation and deposit slip generation or check printing. So it's going to happen for the bank as well as to the OD account. So both are similarly treated in Tally. So anyway, your OD account is going to your liability side and bank account is coming to our asset side, even though it is treated as the bank account, and all these options are available for the OD account also, right? Now I'm creating a bank account, account holder's name and the account number. This is nothing but the name which you are giving to your bank account. Okay, its company name is nothing but, in case of current account, the name of the company will appear in the bank account in this way only, and your IFSC code. Okay. Always IFSC code will be 11-digit alphanumericals. In some banks, they are following the alphabets only. And SWIFT code. This is a code for foreign transactions. IFSC for the local money transfers. When you are transferring money from one bank account to another bank account, your bank account number alone is not enough. You should have the IFSC code. Similarly, when you are transferring money to foreign account, or when you are getting money from foreign account, you should have the SWIFT code. SWIFT code, if it is not available with you, get in touch with your banker. So banker can provide the SWIFT code to you. And mostly this IFSC code is available in our checkbook itself, or when you are opening the bank account, the welcome letter will have your branch IFSC code. The IFSC is different for every branches. Or you put it in the Google also, Indian Bank T Nagar branch, you will get the IFSC code for the Indian Bank T Nagar branch. Then your bank name. So you have to see it carefully. Tally is providing all the bank information in the list. Okay, provided you should use the licensed version. When you are using the licensed version, you can access all the banking features which is available in Tally. For example, the bank name, it is Indian Bank. See here, you can find all the banks, not only the banks in India, also the banks in worldwide. Okay, see, you can see here, more than 750 banks available here. Okay, even the banks in India or Dubai or UAE, Malaysia, Bangladesh, everything is given in this list. Okay, today when there is a new bank opened in India or in America, that will be available here. Okay, so based on the release updates, it will be available here. So I'm going to type and get the bank, Indian Bank, which is in India. Okay, so suppose when you are selecting the State Bank, see, State Bank is there in Bahrain also, Kenya also. So you have to be very careful. So now I'm selecting Indian Bank. It is there in India only. If you are using education mode, sometimes students for learning purpose, they'll be using the education mode, then you will not get this list. Okay, so only the licensed version, you can access this bank list. Then the branch of the bank. That's all the basic configuration of your bank ledger. So why I am insisting this is most of the time accountants, they are creating ledgers and they are simply grouping it under bank account. They leave other information as it is. Okay, not only for the banking ledger and also for the customer's ledger or supplier ledger, we are not very much conscious on creating all the informations which are given in the ledger. Okay, so in case of customers or supplier ledger, if you keep all the information, even their contact number, mobile number, email ID, it will be very much useful for the future communication. Right. Similarly, in the bank also, you can mention everything, whatever the information is available with you related to this bank, you can mention it here. Even in the right hand side, you can find a space for the bank address, bank complete address. Okay, not only the address, you press F12 and activate the contact details. Okay, see, contact details also you can activate, so that in the right hand side of more details also, you can find a space to mention different informations related to bank ledger, the contact details. Even you mentioned the manager name, Mr. Ram Kumar, his phone number, his mobile ID, his email ID, his website, everything you can mention it at the ledger itself. Even you can activate it from F12 configuration also. Sometimes it is available in the more details option, right? Not only that, if you are going to use all the banking features, you can get into this area, that is bank configuration area. That is first one is set or alter the range of checkbooks. Suppose you want to generate a check from Tally. That means you want to print a check from Tally, you can configure here. Okay, what is the advantage? Very simple. Usually when you are making a payment to your customer, sir, to your supplier or some vendor, whoever it is, you are making payment to someone, right? We prepare a check. Manually, we write the name, amount, date, amount in words, and we put two codes to strike the check. That is for the account payee configuration. So finally, we hand over the check to the person and we put the same transaction in tally. Okay, there is a possibility you may overwrite the check, you may do some mistakes on check writing, the check will not be honored. That is one thing. Another thing, there is a high possibility you put some information in the check and you pass the same entry in tally differently. There is a possibility for typographical error. For example, I paid 10,000 rupees. I wrote the check also for 10,000, but by mistake, I made this transaction as 1,000 or I made this transaction as 1 lakh. There is a possibility you may include one more zero or you may skip one zero. So what happens is finally you'll get into the error. Okay, so it's nothing but the mistake you're committing. To avoid all this situation, what you can do is you can pass one entry in tally using the voucher type payment. You can pass one entry and you can insert your check leaves in printer and the check will get printed. So it's mostly your time will be saved and errors will be avoided. So for that, you have to configure the check configuration in Tally. It's very simple. Every bank will issue some check and the check size will be different. And the place where you will mention the name or date or amount in words, that will be having some different space areas. Okay, so based on the check leaf size, you can configure this. Even Tally made it very simple. You no need to manually configure everything. If you are a licensed user, just mention yes, configure your checkbook details. For example, I have a checkbook with me, which is having a check number from 5 lakh 1 to 5 lakh 100. That means there is a 100 leaf checkbook. That's all. Checkbook I have configured. I have a checkbook with me now. And again, I have to enable the check printing and I have to do the configuration for that particular check. So every bank check size will be different, shape will be different, and where the words, amounts mentioned, the space will be totally different. So for that, you have to configure. So you don't need to manually configure. Like you take one check leaf, you take a measurement scale and just check what is the width of a check, height of a check. Okay, and then from the left, and what is the space in which the name of the payee is typed. Okay, so all those things you have to measure and you have to do the configuration. Now this has been made very easy. That means you get into the area, set or alter check printing configuration. Now Tally will provide the check leaves issued by the Indian bank. Just check your check leaf. Okay, whether the check leaf is matching with your physical check copy which you have in your hand. Okay, you remember we have already configured that this is nothing but Indian bank. Okay, Tally can match it from here. That means Tally understands that you are using the check leaf issued by Indian bank. See, now you are getting Indian bank. See, even Indian bank has different formats. This is one format. Okay, another one is format 2. Another one is format 1. So everything is differs. Size is different, color is different. So banks, what they are doing is for SB account, they are issuing different color. For current account, they are issuing different color. For OD and OCC account, they are issuing different color. So based on that, the size also will vary, right? Or they have one more format that is called format 1. So hope you know about CTS format. So CTS format, you can find the left hand side in the vertical option, you can find some information which is related to CTS. Okay, so these are recent checks. This is the old check pattern where the CTS information is not available on the left side. Or if you don't have any of these formats, I'm sure you'll be having only these formats because Tally is updated. Every time Tally is updated. Now Indian Bank is planning to issue another format of check that will be available in your Tally immediately based on the releases. Okay. Now, apart from these four, if you find that the check is not available with you, you have a different format and you can use user defined. That means now you have to define. Take a check leaf in your hand and take a measurement scale. Just check what is the width of the check or height of the check. Something will be there. But for your guidance, just see the right hand side. There is an option Alt B, copy from. That means Tally is going to help you. You don't need to measure everything. Tally is going to help you like copy from some other sample format, right? Now I have copied everything. See, width of the check, just check your physical check. If the width of the check is 205 centimeters, then you take it 205. Height is 93, then you take it as 94, 96, like that. You take it as 94, 96. Okay, based on the actual numbers you can configure. It's just a supporting format Tally is giving to you. And also the style of date. If you are preferring to write date, DD, MM, YY, or if you prefer to put only DD, MM, YY, you can. Okay, so whatever the instructions you are giving, based on the Tally will do the configuration, right? So this is the manual configuration. Instead of that, you can use any of these formats which are available. You are going to define manually only if these 4 formats are not supported, right? For example, I'm selecting CTS form 3. That's all. This is a format of CTS. And finally, you have to mention some information. In the check, you can find the name of the company. So the same is available here. And print name on the check. Yes, if you want to print company name on the check, you can have it. See, what happens is in some check leaves, see here, authorized signatory, please sign at the above. But in some check leaves, right, bankers will print your company name. For example, my company name is Anurag Enterprises. You can find Anurag Enterprises. For Anurag Enterprises, if it is a private limited company or something, they'll mention for Anurag Enterprises Private Limited and the authorized signatory. Suppose it's a director supposed to sign, then it will mention the salutation also, director, partner, proprietor, like that also you can configure. Suppose if you are selecting this format, if those informations are not available, then you can select the information, print company name on the check, yes. And what is the salutation you want? Okay, like a partner, managing director, or a director, proprietor, whatever you want, you can define it here. Okay, like that. Right. So just accepting. Once it is accepted, Tally will show you the format. So this is the sample check. So if you have a check leaf with you, just insert the check in the printer, right? And mostly this format will not support for dot matrix printer. Laser printers will be supported. Just insert your check leaves in the printer and you accept, put the payment entry and accept it, automatically your check will get printed, right? The crossing, account payee information, party name. So here the name will be printed. So you are making payment to Ram Kumar, then your payment entry will be Ram Kumar account debit to ICICI Bank or IDBI Bank. Automatically that Ram Kumar name will appear here and the date of the check and the amount in words, amount in numbers, and finally the company name. This is the instruction we have given for Anurag Enterprises. And finally the salutation, like a managing director or a partner, like that, right? So this is how the check is configured. I'm just accepting this configuration. Once this configuration is accepted, now when making a payment, for example, I'll go to the voucher type, payment, right? So just see all the options. You can find a lot of information here. Okay. See the right hand side, there is an option, print voucher after saving, yes. Okay. Suppose if this option is set to yes, you are making payment. For example, I'll make one payment on 31st December. I'll select some persons for the payment. I'll make 2,56,400. Now I'm selecting Indian Bank, enter, and the check numbers comes automatically because we have already defined the check register numbers we have already defined, and the check number also comes automatically. Unfortunately, suppose you have the other check number right now. Instead of 5,01,000, if you have 5,02,000 with you, then you can change the check numbers. Manual acceptance should be given instruction in the F12, then you can accept the 5,02,000 check number. That's all. Now I'm going to save this entry. I'm passing on payment entry and I'm going to save this entry. While saving this entry, Tally will raise a question you want to print because we have configured already, because we have already configured that print after saving the voucher. Now, when I'm saving the voucher, this is nothing but the payment voucher printout. Okay, if you want to see the preview, this is nothing but payment voucher. Some companies have the system of taking signature from the recipient. When you're making payment to someone, they'll take a printout of this voucher, or they'll be using manual voucher. Some of them are using manual and some of them are taking printout from Tally, and they print and get the signature from the person who's receiving this check. Okay, now there is an option to print this payment voucher. You press escape. Now you press escape, then you can print your check. Now if the check is inserted on your printer, you can take a printout. Because physical check, it will be very blank, and the crossing option, account payee information, the name of the check, amount of the check, amount in words, amount in numbers, date, company name, and salutation. Everything will be available. Just give a print instruction and you can print the check without any errors, right? So very simple. You are going to make the configuration in the ledger creation level, and you are going to activate print after saving option from the voucher type. Once it is activated, while passing the entry, I'll pass one more entry on 1st of January. Just for your understanding, I'm making payment to National Enterprises, 5 lakh. This is about the bill-wise details. Hope you can understand the bill-wise details. I'll pass again on account, and I'm selecting IBA Bank, Indian Bank, because for which I've configured the check printing, and I'm selecting the check numbers. I'm going to accept this transaction. While accepting this transaction, there is an option to print the voucher. This you can print and then press escape. Now this is the option for your check printing, right? There are a lot of information in this. The first part, it is divided into two. The first part is nothing but check printing configuration, and the second part is for the payment advice, the favoring name, whatever you want to change, you can change. For example, I'm making payment to National Enterprises, but they're asking check in favor of someone. That is also possible, right? If the customer is asking, if the supplier is asking, we can give it a different name also, because they are requesting us to give the payment to different name also. You can configure and you can edit it. Okay, see, you can edit anything, whatever you want to edit, you can edit it. Now, if I press escape, or if I see the preview, I'll get the check printed, right? So now the entry is saved and the check is also printed, and you can avoid mistakes in both entries or in the check. When we are writing the checks manually, there is a high possibility we will do mistakes, right? That we are going to avoid it. So next, we will see about the generating payment advices. Okay, so it is very important to generate payment advice and send it to these suppliers when we are making payment through online. Okay, see, for example, when you are giving cash to your supplier, you'll be taking vouchers signature. Okay, for the acknowledgement, it is very important to have the acknowledgement. Similarly, when you are making payment through the bank, so we have to send the payment advice to the supplier. Okay, so just to acknowledge that we are making payment. Okay, supplier also should give a consent that he received the payment. So we have to inform them. See, even when we are making some payment transfer to our friend through GPay, after making this payment, usually we take a screenshot, or there is an option in GPay to share the screenshot. Similarly, when you are making payment to your supplier, it is your responsibility to send a payment advice. Like, I'm making payment for this so-and-so bills. That information you have to inform to your suppliers. So instead of doing it manually, earlier we do it manually. Actually, we type the information in email or mobile or message or whatever it is, or we type a letter and we tell them that this is a check I'm attaching, or I've transferred the fund in the bank account against the particular payment references, etc. So we have to communicate to the supplier. The same thing we are going to do it, but Tally is going to help us to generate a payment advice. For example, go to the banking option, and there is an option for payment advice, and select the bank, select the party, to whom you made a payment, right? So this is the party to which you are making payment, right? So this is about the payment, and you can generate the payment advice also, right? Now select for which you are going to generate a payment advice. Okay. So I'm just making a preview. See our company name, date, supplier name and address. See, I've not mentioned anything in the ledger creation, so I'm not getting it here. So company name, supplier's name and address, and the payment particulars for which bill you made this payment. All the details are available here. I've selected on account, that's why it's coming as on account. Otherwise, you can mention that the reference numbers, bill for which you are making payment, and also the check details, check number, or the, if it is online payment, UTR numbers, amount, bank, everything will be available in this sheet. Okay, now you can take a printout and you can attach a check if it is a check payment, or if the fund is already transferred, simply you can send this payment advice to your supplier. Whatever it is, whoever it is, whom you are making a payment, if you want to send an acknowledgement, you can take this printout and send it. Okay, so this is very, very important to communicate to your suppliers. Even if you have more transaction with a particular supplier, Tally is giving an option. Suppose if you have generated this payment advice already, just select, and there is an option on the right hand side that mark as printed. That means the printed vouchers will not be available here. So the printed payment advices will not be available here. If the payment advice is not generated, for example, this I have not generated, then it will be available. You can give a command, print command or P, and you can take a printout of this and you can send it to your supplier. Even you can mail it to them. So there is an export option, there is an email option. Okay. So if the email is configured in your Tally, then you can send to them through email also. So in my system, it is not configured. Directly, you can send an email instead of generating in PDF and sending it as a email attachment or sending it through WhatsApp. Better you can email it to the clients, because nowadays no one is taking a printout and sending it through couriers. Everyone is communicating through WhatsApp or email or some other online device only. So you can also communicate in the same way. Simply you are generating the payment advice and sending it to the suppliers. Right? This is one thing. Important thing is cash deposit challans, generating cash deposit challan. This is also very, very important. You can ask a question whether it's a cash deposit challan or it's a check deposit. See, usually what we do is we take the cash or check to the bank. There will be some challans. We fill the challan. If it is a check, we attach it to the challan and hand over it to the banker. If it is a cash, we fill up the challan and we pay it through the bank cash counter. Here, the advantage in Tally is instead of you fill up the challans manually, there is a possibility you may do mistakes mentioning the bank account number or date or the checks or check number or whatever it is. Or sometimes you'll be having more transaction. Okay, suppose you have huge number of check transaction. You have 10 checks with you, 15 checks with you. You cannot fill up the challans again and again and again and again, right? So because there will not be a much space in the challans given by the bankers. So for that, you'll be facing a lot of problem. You have to write it in very small letters. Okay, you have to fill up 2-3 challans. It is waste of your time. Instead of that, you can talk to your banker and get a permission to print a payment challan, right, in your letterhead. So bankers are allowing it. Okay, so you have to give a request letter to the banker so that bankers will allow you to deposit your checks or cash through the letterheads instead of writing it in the challans. Okay, so if you have 10 checks or 15 checks in your hand, better you put all the receipt entry in Tally, then you take a printout of payment advice. See, there is an option for payment advice. Okay, so sorry, there's an option for deposit challan. So you take this particular transaction, for example, there is a transaction. I put print. Now this is the deposit challan. Okay, I've selected only one. See, all the checks, whatever the checks I have received from my clients, those checks I'm going to deposit now. See, all the checks check number, date, everything is available here. And you can take a printout in your letterhead and you can submit it. Even Tally gives 1+1 copy. So usually what we do is whenever we submit some document to the bankers, we take a printout and we get an acknowledgement in one copy from the banker that we have deposited the check. Even we do it to the challans also. Off copy will be acknowledged, sealed and given to you back for the acknowledgement purpose. Okay, so the problem here is in these transactions, I have not properly mentioned the informations. For example, this is a receipt of professional charges. I'm depositing this challan in my bank account, ICICI. Now you mentioned from which bank the client has given. My client is having bank account in yes. Okay, one more client. I'm receiving from a party MMTS and my client is having State Bank of India bank account. Now I select all the transaction. I generate a deposit slip. You can find the information here, bank name. Even you can mention the branch name. So this informations help us to track the check if it is misplaced, right? Suppose you talk to the banker that said I have deposited one check, that check is not credited in my account. Immediately they will ask the information, what is the date of check, amount of check, which check you have deposited, yes bank check, then what is the branch of that check. So these are all the informations required to trace the check, no? So we have to maintain a record for that. See, I have not entered all those informations. It is a wrong practice. Now I have to mention everything. If the space is not available, just check with your F12 configuration, check received from remarks and branch name, whatever you want to mention. So professional charges, something. So their check instrument number, bank name, brancher, and remarks for the bill number for the future reference, bill number 896. So now you can generate a deposit slip. It will be fully updated. Okay. So this is how you are going to generate the deposit slip, not only for the check deposits, also for the cash deposits. For example, now I'm going to deposit some cash in my bank account. Okay. Now this is my bank deposit entry. I'm depositing it in my ICICI bank account. We have to mention it. Sometimes we deposit in some other branch also. For example, I'm just mentioning that Mount Road ATM where you are going to deposit. Okay, this is a cash receipt from my friend Kumar for future reference. Now, these transactions also you can generate payment address. Sorry, go to Gateway of Tally, banking utilities, deposit slips, select the bank. Only checks are coming. If you want, you can get the cash deposits also. Okay, so you can include the cash deposits also. See, if I press F5, I'll get the cash deposits also. Then same way to generate a deposit slip. So we go to bank and take the challan from the counter and fill all the details, denominations, everything, and we deposit. The same method we are going to follow it. Okay. Now this is about the deposit slip generation. Finally, I'm coming to the BRS part. So BRS, I hope everyone knows about BRS. BRS is nothing but bank reconciliation statement. We do bank transactions. When the company has more number of transactions, it is very, very important to track all those transactions in the bank statement also. Okay, let us take our personal example. Assume that on 1st of January, I had 1,000 rupees in my bank account. Okay, my salary is 50,000. So I'm assuming that my salary is credited on 1st. So my balance will be 51,000. Okay, and I'm going for some purchase of some new mobile for 51,000 like that. Okay, so when I'm swiping the card, so it says decline due to insufficient balance, for example. there is a high possibility your banker would have debited 250 rupees as bank charges for various reasons. SMS alert charges, internet banking charges, cash deposit charges, ATM withdrawal charges, a checkbook or new debit card charges, whatever it is, but they have debited 250 rupees. How do you know about it? Sometimes you will get it by message. Suppose you didn't read the message. Okay, so you'll get into embarrassment that you are going to suffer a problem. There is a insufficient balance. To avoid these situations, we have to get updated. We should check our bank account before we proceed any transaction. So you take the same scenario to the business. In business, it's not one transaction or two transactions. A number of transactions is going to happen in bank account. One person has to consciously cross-check the bank statement and verify whether the payments you made is debited from your bank account, whether the receipts you had it from your customers is credited in your bank account. Okay, so when there is a debit, auto debit from the bank, so you have to check for what reason they have auto debited the transactions, right? So these are all will happen when you are doing the reconciliation properly. Reconciliation we had a for different reason. Earlier we'll be having more check receipts and check payments. So when you are issuing a payment to your supplier, there is a possibility he may be depositing it later. Okay, on 1st of January, you're issuing the check to your supplier, but he may deposit the check on 5th of January. The banker will do the process on 6th or 7th, or if there is a holiday, it will happen after the holidays only. So you are issuing check on 1st of the month, but the amount is debited from your bank account on 10th of the month. But we have to ensure that the check is debited from your bank account, and you have to ensure that the balance is correct after debiting those checks. Okay, otherwise you may be issuing another check to some other supplier, considering the balance, it may get into the bouncing problems. Okay, so check bounces have serious consequences. There is a high possibility the check issuing authority, like a manager or the proprietor of the business, may get arrested as per law. Okay, as per Negotiable Instrument Act, you are not supposed to issue a check if there is no fund at your bank account, right? To avoid all these situations, you have to do the bank reconciliations properly. It is very simple. You have your transaction in your tally, and you get the bank statement, and you cross check whether those transactions are affected in the bank statement or not. So if it is affected, you just mention the date in which the transaction is affected on the bank. For example, on 1st of the month, you have entered the payment transaction. Okay, but there is a possibility the amount will be debited from your bank on 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th also. So in this scenario, you should mention the date in which the bankers have taken effect of the particular transaction. Then your bank will be reconciled. The ultimate objective is the balance should be matching as per your bank account and as per your bank statement. Okay, so if there is a difference, you should know the difference. Like, I have issued a check to so and so, and they have not presented the check. There is a possibility if they have not presented the check after 2 months or 3 months, you have to call and ask them. Okay, so then they will be realizing that they have not deposited the check, or they will deposit check later also. It is very important to match the balances between your books and the balances available as per the bank statement, right? So what happens is, in Tally, it is very easy to do the reconciliation, but manual reconciliation is very hard task. It's very simple. We pass all the entry in bank account, and we open the bank statement in the reconciliation page and just mention the date in which the particular transaction is affecting on the bank statement. For example, I'll get into the banking utilities and bank reconciliation. In this example, I'm taking ICICI Bank account, right? So see, these are all the transactions I have entered. I have entered only 7 or 8 transactions for sample purpose. Okay, so what I supposed to do is, my opening balance I can cross check, my closing balance, everything I can cross check. The ultimate objective is the bank balance. You see the last line, balance as per the bank and balance as per the statement should be equal. Okay, otherwise you should know the reason why it is not equal. That's all. Okay, now for example, the D-Smart Enterprises, I made a payment on 1st of November. Assume that they have deposited the check later, and that has been debited from my bank account on 5th of November. just see it carefully. It's a blank area. So here you have to mention the bank date. That's all. So you just see the balance as per bank statement also. Now the balance as per this book is 2,03,103.34. But as per the bank statement, it will be 49,000 only. After I enter this transaction, balance as per bank will be updated for this 85,000. Enter. Now you can see the balance is different. 1,18,103. And again, the next transaction, I am issuing check on 10th November, but the national enterprises, they were debited it from my account on 15th November. That's all. See, the balance is matching. Almost it is matched. Only few transactions, it is not updated. Very simple. You open a bank statement and you just mention on which the transaction is getting effect on the bank records. That's all. First, you have to enter all the transactions. You know one thing, in the earlier stages, we do reconciliation on a monthly basis because we don't get the bank statements instantly. We have to go to the bank, tell the chief cashier or whoever it is, we have to request them to generate a bank statement. They take a printout or they'll ask us to write it in the register. Okay, we have to write it in the register. Later, after 10 days or 15 days, they'll make a call. Come and collect the bank statement. So it happens in that way. So we have to get the statement from the bank and we have to do the reconciliation. Later, we started collecting the bank statements on a weekly basis. Banks have started using more printers and a separate staff was allotted to take a printout. And we started getting statements frequently. And later, in the recent times, we don't reach the bank for the bank statement. We take online copies because everyone has the net banking password. So they can generate the statement by themselves. Some situations, if you are a premium customer in some banks, you know, most of the time it's not happening in the nationalized banks, but other banks like HDFC or Axis Bank, they're sending a statement in online. Okay, we no need to get into the net banking and we no need to generate the statements on a daily basis or weekly basis as per our request. It's reaching our email. Okay, accountant's responsibility because previously, you know, apart from the bankers, we request the business owners are the one who is having the net banking password to generate the statement that will delay our work. So nowadays, accounts email ID, if we are giving to the banker to that email ID, bank is automatically generating the statement and sending it to us on a daily basis or a weekly basis. It is as per our request or a monthly basis, whatever it is. Okay, for statutory reasons, for future income tax references and all, you can take a printout from the bank and that's not a problem, but it is available instantly. So you can do the reconciliation on a daily basis also, right? This is one thing. This is a manual reconciliation, right? And there is another option to do auto reconciliation. See, why I'm discussing this chapter today is very simple. TallyPrime is coming with some more advancements. Okay, already a lot of advancements are there related to banking feature, like you can do the auto reconciliation. Okay, no need to manually reconcile. If you download Excel statements and put it in Tally, it will do the auto reconciliation. That is one area. Another area, you can make the payments through Tally itself. You can enable e-payments in Tally itself. This is another area. Now, some more advancements are going to come. For example, you download a bank statement. Okay, in the statement, there are 2 transactions, but in Tally, only 50 or 60 transactions are posted. So what you can do is you can upload those transactions in Tally directly, right? Instead of doing manual entries. Suppose when there is a long pending of transactions, okay, you have not entered all the transactions, you can do auto reconciliation, or you can import all those bank transactions in Tally instead of doing a manual entry. So these are all the areas Tally is coming with a new release and new enhancement we can expect in the new releases. Okay, so now this is a manual reconciliation. If you want to do the auto reconciliation, you ensure that the bank statement is downloaded in your system in some places. For example, I have downloaded my bank statement in my system, D drive. I have a separate folder BRS. So I have downloaded the bank statement. Okay, this is my bank statement. Then you come to your ledger configuration, that is alteration of ledger. Select the bank for which you want to configure the auto bank reconciliation. There is an option, enable auto reconciliation, and then you have to make some configurations. That is very simple. where the bank statement is available. That's all. There's no more configuration like check printing and all. You don't need to configure anything. Just inform Tally that you kept a bank statement in the D drive. There is a folder called BRS. All right. So for that, you select the option specify path and specify path, or you select the option select from the drive. In my system D drive, there is a folder called BRS in which I have the file. That's all. Nothing apart from that. So now, if you want to do a reconciliation, you take some particular period to do the reconciliation. If you want the auto reconciliation, you get into the bank reconciliation, select the bank. Now all the transactions are available. You forget about this area and you see the top one, there are 7 transactions we have entered. But in the bank statement, there are huge number of transactions, but I have entered only 7 transactions. Relatively for this January month, I have entered only 5 transactions. Okay. Now, if you are importing the bank statement, Tally will do the reconciliations based on few criterias. For example, when I make this payment, the payment date, the payment amount, or the bank references for the payments, like instrument number. Usually we mention the check numbers in the transaction also. For example, this is my receipt entry. Just see that when I'm recording this transaction, see, most of the time we do skip off this areas, but you have to carefully handle this area. Okay, even some more configurations are available in the F12. That also we have to cover. Right, see my check details, instrument number. I've just mentioned some instrument number, dummy transactions, and the supplier's check bank details, received from which party, bill number, everything I've mentioned. Now, based on the information's matching, Tally will do the auto reconciliation. So I made a payment of this transaction. For example, this I made it to. So some of the transactions, it should match with your inputs. Whatever the informations you are giving here should get matched. Just checking some of the configurations. Right. Now you import. So you can find an import option at the top. There's an option import. Okay, Alt-O, bank statement. Now Tally will automatically show the place where the bank statements are available. Okay, so we have already configured that the bank statement is available in my system at D drive and the folder is BRS. And the file is coming here. If you have more bank statements in the same folder, all the bank statements will be available for your selection. Okay, now you can select the file. That's all. Tally will automatically take the informations and do the auto reconciliation. I've taken a sample data. I don't have a real-time bank statement. So I made a, right. So total bank entries are 78, reconciled 0, additional bank entries 0. That means no information is matching because I've taken a sample data. I don't have real-time data with me right now. So I've taken a sample bank statement. I've created this bank statement. Nothing is matching with this information. So it's not happening automatically, but it's very simple. If check number or whatever it is, if it is matching with the records, it will do the reconciliation automatically. But these are all the transactions which are available in the bank statement, but it is not updated on the Tally. For example, you take all these transactions. I have taken ICICI transactions. So these are all the transactions available in my bank statement. See, but it is not in my books of accounts, or these transactions are not matching with my records. So that is why I'm not able to do the auto reconciliation. Okay, so this is how we are going to do the auto reconciliation. Anyway, since I have done no details is matching with the record, so I'm not able to do the auto reconciliation or to do the manual reconciliation. So these are all the transactions available in my bank statement, but I have not entered. I have entered only few transactions. Okay. And these are all the transactions already I've entered, but these informations are not matching with my bank statement records. Okay, that's why I'm not able to do auto reconciliation, right? So otherwise, Tally will do the automatic reconciliation. The transactions will be filled. Now new advancement is coming in TallyPrime, the latest later editions. The simple thing is you can pass the entries also through import of the transaction. Okay, when there is a bank statement uploaded in Tally will match the entries and do the auto reconciliation. Sometimes if it is not matching, then if the entries are available in the bank statement, those transactions also you can upload it in the Tally. It will reduce our working hours, right? That is the main objective. It will reduce our working objectives. And one more thing, there is an option. You see your bank statement, sorry, bank ledger. Last field, there is an option for enable auto reconciliation, and you can configure. And the statements, if you have multiple times you have downloaded the statements, everything will be available in the folder. That's a main advantage. Okay, even in the ICICI bank account, there is a last option called enable e-payments. So this helps you to enable the e-payment. That means from Tally itself, you can make the payment. So you can ask the question whether it is possible. Yes, it's possible. What you're supposed to do is there is a reference. Okay, so Tally is suggesting you to contact the respective banking officials, right? So contact details is given for the respective banks. For example, if you have a ICICI bank account, then you give a missed call to this number and the banker executive will be in touch with you and they will help you to make transactions directly from Tally. So you have to make some configuration. What you can do is you can draft, for example, on 5th of the month, we are paying salary to 20 members, 30 members, 50 members. So we cannot prepare a check for all those members, or we cannot do transactions manually one by one. Instead of that, you can prepare some Excel sheet or whatever the format is suggested by the bankers. Some bankers are suggesting in the notepad format. Some bankers are suggesting in CSV format, right? You can prepare and you can upload it so that directly your account will be debited and the amount will be credited to the respective parties. Mostly it will be very useful for the companies to process their salaries. So this kind of advancement is coming in Tally. Already it's there, but you have to get in touch with the respective bank and their customer care executive. Then only you can execute it in Tally, right? So with this, we have a lot of banking features. If you are using all the banking features effectively, most of your works burdens will be reduced and you can work with error-free banking transactions, right? Not only the transactions happening in the bank, also the transactions recorded on the books of accounts will happen without any errors, right? So in this session, we have discussed 4 important things. That is, 1 is about check printing in Tally and about the check register configuration. And number 2, we discussed about deposit slip. Number 3, payment advice. And finally, bank reconciliation. In this bank reconciliation, you can do manual reconciliation and also the auto reconciliation. Also, options are available in near future to import all the transactions from bank statement to Tally, and you can even make the online payments also through Tally, right? So some of them are already available for the DBS Bank, Standard Chartered Bank kind of a banks. And other banks, you have to get in touch with the bankers and you have to enable it. And very importantly, I just want to update you that Tally, you can do a lot of customization and you can design whatever you want to design. For example, invoice you can design in this way. Tally invoice is such a professional invoice. Of course, if you want something additionally on your title, like company logo or the color patterns, if you want to change, you can change it. So in the footer also, if you want to mention your address and everything in the bottom. So like if you want to have an invoice, like it is printed on the letterhead, so you can have it, or the seal and signatures, you can do it. Okay, so these are all happening through the Tally definition language that is called TDL. Okay, and we are launching an academy, Asset Genesis House of Accountants, for the knowledge enhancement of the accountants and also the job seekers. Okay, after the graduation, if they want to be in accounts environment and if they feel that some of the skills are lacking for them, they can get in touch with us. And there is a product called tallyhr.com. Through this tallyhr.com, we are providing placement support to the candidate as well as to the business owners. If you are a business owner, you are searching for a good accountant, you can get in touch with us. Similarly, if you are an accountant searching for a good accountant job, get in touch with us. We will help you to get a job and also a good accountant. We are just a platform between the accountants and the business owners to get them connected, right? So if you are using the lowest edition, that is, you are not using the proper releases, please update it. In the right top of your system, you can find a red alert button. That means your system is not updated with the latest releases. Only the latest releases will have all the advanced functions. In Tally, the latest release is 5.1, which is from 2nd December onwards. And even we are going to we can expect a next release, like release 6 in the near future. There are a lot of advancements in the release 6. Get in touch with us so that we can help you to use the latest editions. Okay, and I just want to give us tips for today. And TDS return is supposed to be filed before 31st January 2025. So we usually file the TDS returns on a quarterly basis. For the TDS, we deducted for October, November, December. The amount supposed to be paid on the respective following month 7, but the return is supposed to be filed before 31st January, right? And if the return is not filed at right time, there is a penalty of rupees 200 every day. If the return is filed after 10th February, that means very simple, per day 200 rupees, and you are going to pay the penalty of 2,200 rupees. Okay, and one more thing, if the return is not filed at right time, you may get affected your credibility, because your deductees will come to know that you have not paid the TDS. Sometimes we will be paying the TDS, but we forget to file the return, or we do mistakes or filing the returns before the deadline, and you lose your credibility among your deductees. That means even if you are employees, they will be identifying that you are not making payment at right time, payment of TDS. You are deducting and you are not making the payment. And because it is going to reflect on their Form 26AS, if it is not reflecting, then they may be raising a question. Next time, they will not allow you to deduct the TDS. So to avoid all these problems, we have to file the return for the 3rd quarter before 31st January 2025, right? So we have a fixed webinar calendar. The next webinar is on 30th January, how to manage interest calculation in TallyPrime. From TallyPrime, you can calculate interest. Okay, and also you can pass entries, and we can get assistance from Tally to get the interest amount automatically in the debit note or credit note. Okay, so when there is a delay from your customers, there is a possibility you can charge interest. Okay, so similarly, when the supplier says like you are not making a payment at right time, you have to pay interest, we can calculate the interest by ourselves. I know some companies, they are calculating the bank OD interest also from Tally itself. Okay, they were able to trace that the banker have charged more interest. Okay, so we can be very conscious on that. So Tally will help us to calculate the interest. Very simple configurations is going to help us to calculate the interest automatically. So the next session is on 30th January about interest calculation in TallyPrime, right? Thank you very much for today's participation. On Thursday, we will meet again the topic interest calculation in Tally. Thank you.